Welcome to 2020 and welcome to Audio Talk. In our previous review, we reviewed the Spatial Audio X3 Open Baffle loudspeaker system. Now we're going to move on to amplifiers. I'll be posting the amplifier review in the next few days, but first I wanted to do an intro video to set it up. A few years ago when I started my audiophile journey in around the late 70s, I started off with a Marantz 2215 receiver with 15 watts per channel, powering my small Advent loudspeakers. In a couple years, I went to a specialty audio store and got a Sumo Model 9 Class A amplifier, 60 watts per channel. When you flipped it on, the lights dimmed, it drew a lot of power, but it really sounded good. I really appreciated the sound of a Class A amplifier even at the young age of 20. But as I went through my journey, I experimented with a lot of different amplifiers. Solid state amplifiers, Class A amplifiers, Class AV amplifiers, and tube amplifiers. While I was auditioning a lot of amplifiers in the mid-90s when I worked for a hi-fi store in Michigan, auditioned and carried Nelson Pass and Balanced Audio Technology, Mesa Boogie tube amps, a lot of different amplifiers. Reference line, Preeminence 1 Class A amplifier at 100 watts really stood out for me as being my standard benchmark. But along the journey, we also considered a Spectron Musician Class D amplifier. I lived with that amp for a couple of weeks. It really intrigued me. It did a lot of things right. It was so fast and dynamic. But at the end of the day, for me, it just didn't have the mid-range magic that I really appreciated in an amplifier. It just seemed a little dry. So I didn't recommend that we carried it. And I continued on my journey, and through the years I also tried some additional tube amplifiers, and one particular one I want to highlight, it was a single-ended 2A3 amp. It was 3.5 watts a channel, glorious mid-range. Every part was custom designed for this amplifier to be the best sounding amp it could be. Power supplies, caps, the tubes themselves. I was really proud of this as I partnered with a custom designer that builds these amps, and really enjoyed my stay with that amp. But along the journey, I posted in Audio Circle and shared that I have the Spatial Audio M3S Turbo speakers and had that combination. And a gentleman on the site kind of reached out to me and said, hey, you know, that I have that speaker and I also tried single-ended, but you should really get into Class D. And we had a conversation. He says, oh, it's so much better now that the years have passed. They've refined it. It really sounds musical. And he made me an offer I couldn't refuse. He said, hey, I'm going to send you this Class D amplifier. I'm going to send it to you for free. And just listen to it and tell me if you think it's doing a lot of things better than your single-ended amp, tube amp. And he also had a single-ended tube amp. So he's kind of working from experience. Seemed to be a real credible guy, so I said, well, sure, I'll take this free amp and hook it up and see what I think. So I went for it. So I got the amp and I hooked it up, and I immediately understood that it was definitely doing some things that my single-ended amp didn't do, and definitely was intriguing to me. It wasn't perfect, but it piqued my interest for sure. And then he shared the company that he had done business with in the Class D area that's like more state-of-the-art Class D. And it was a digital amplifier company amp and the desktop Cherry Marachinos. So after listening to this cheap Class D amp, I decided to go for it. So I called up Tommy O'Brien at the Cherry Amp Group, and he basically said, hey, I've got these demos. It's a pretty good price. They're not, you know, they're a little bit beat up, a little bit scratched, but, you know, they function perfectly and sound perfect. And so I said, okay, I'll take the deal and I'll check it out. So I got them into my system, and I must say, as soon as I hooked them up, not only myself, but my wife, who's not an audiophile, immediately noticed a difference. Everything was so clear. It didn't need any time to warm up, and as you'll see in the review that I'll be posting soon, it has a lot of benefits. So I'm going to leave you with that for now. Pique your interest a little bit if you've never heard of digital amplifier companies, Cherry, desktop Marachinos, and give you a very in-depth review in the next few days. Until that review, thank you for joining me. I hope you have a great new year, and we'll see you next time on Audio Talk.